Hi there, everyone. Welcome to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. It's Friday, January 22nd. Thanks for being here to get filled in with the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. We start today on a solemn note celebrating the life of Hank Aaron, Major League Baseball's former record holder for career home runs. He passed away today at the age of 86. That was confirmed by his former team, the Atlanta Braves, who said that he passed away peacefully in his sleep. The cause of death was not disclosed. Now, many people remember Hank Aaron for his 755 career home runs, but here in Northeast Ohio, people may remember something different about Hank Aaron. He was a big Cleveland Browns fan, and he spent a lot of time in the dog pound here in the winter months specifically. Hank Aaron said in the documentary for ESPN Believe Land that his fandom for the Cleveland Browns went back to the days of Otto Graham and Dante Lavelli. He said that he had a lot of fun in the dog pound and he was never recognized. He said that it was easy to go there in the winter and not be recognized because he would put on a jacket and put on his hat and just have a good time and everyone would only see his eyes. He did say, though, that someone did finally figure out who he was because what happened was one time he left the dog pound and he went out to dinner at a restaurant and he took the dog mask with him, and then one of the guys walked up behind him, pointed at him and said, "I thought that was you and I've been watching you for years and now I finally found out it was you." If you want to see that clip from Hank Aaron and celebrate his life, we have that linked on WKYC.com and also on our WKYC app. Now we turn to what's happening in Washington, D.C., and now the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has said that Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi will send the article of impeachment of former President Donald Trump to the Senate on Monday. This will kick off the process for the Senate to take up the trial on the charge against former President Trump on inciting an insurrection. Now, the schedule will be what's up in question right now. Former Majority Leader, Republican Leader Mitch McConnell, has proposed a schedule that would provide about 2 weeks for former President Trump's defense team to file briefs and get prepared, and that would push the start of the trial back into February. Now, McConnell and Schumer are working over that schedule right now and trying to figure out how to balance that with the other priorities of the Senate, including moving forward with legislation proposed by President Joe Biden and also his cabinet nominations and other priorities. Now, this is something different that we have seen, by the way. McConnell has specifically said that he wants to see this pushed back so that there's a full and fair process and all of the process is afforded to the former president. If you remember, it was flip-flopped the first time President Trump was impeached. There were lengthy hearings in the House of Representatives. Lots of evidence was introduced, and then that was submitted into the record in the Senate. Well, those hearings are not required in the impeachment process. That was something that the House went above and beyond to do at that time, some say as a political maneuver in order to gain public support for the impeachment on those charges, which were, at that time, abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. But the president was acquitted of those charges. Now, in this second historic impeachment of the former president, we saw a very quick process in the House where the charges were very quickly processed, and then now to be sent to the Senate where they will have to admit evidence into the record. They will have to seek testimony. They will have to introduce evidence and really carry out that process in the Senate. So that's what we can expect to see when that does happen. And Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer did say that we can expect a full and fair trial in the Senate once that does kick off. Here in Ohio today, Governor Mike DeWine held an informational session this afternoon about his Expedited Pardon Project. This is something that Governor DeWine launched in 2019. It's a collaboration between the governor, the Drug Enforcement and Policy Center at the Ohio State University Moritz College of Law, and the Reentry Clinic at the University of Akron School of Law. And the goal behind this project is to remove challenges surrounding pardoning and clemency applications in Ohio. This is for people who meet certain criteria with exceptional stories who can show that they've been rehabilitated. They are already out of custody. So these are not for people who are in custody right now. These are people who have completed their sentences 10 years ago or more. So all the time that they were sentenced to serve, they did serve it. So you might be wondering, why would someone want this? Well, there are lots of reasons. Career opportunities, educational and political goals, also to remove the stigma surrounding convictions. Now, according to the governor's office, in the first year of the project, 9 people received pardons through the expedited program, but it's estimated that thousands of Ohioans also qualify for this project, and it's estimated to take about half the time of the normal pardoning process. As of December 17th, there were 74 people who had submitted applications, and 30 people have been accepted by the project team. Now, that's not to say that those other 44 people aren't eligible, but some of them are under review. Some of them have been asked to reapply after they meet certain conditions, and some of them didn't currently meet current conditions. But even if you don't meet the conditions for the expedited project, you can still apply for a pardon via the regular pardon process. So we've got all kinds of information on that on WKYC.com if you want to check that out. Yesterday, in the governor's address, he announced that Ohio will be extending its COVID-19 curfew beyond tomorrow, beyond January 23rd. The curfew was first put in place in November. I'm talking about that 10 p.m. curfew. So the curfew between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. for businesses, for people. The governor has said it needs to move forward because our hospitalizations simply are not where we want them to be right now, and it is his responsibility as the governor to try and keep COVID-19 as under control as possible here in the state of Ohio. Now remember, the curfew doesn't apply to anyone going to and from work or going to get medical care, and it's not intended to stop people from getting groceries or going to the pharmacy. And you can still get carryout or drive-through after 10 p.m., but you can't be inside a business. You can't be having food or drink served to you at a bar or a restaurant. That's all got to stop at 10 p.m. And the difference this time is we don't know the end date. The governor hasn't come out with an extended target date at this point. He just says it will not be lifted on Saturday like it was supposed to be lifted under the most recent extension of that curfew. Now let's take a look at our latest numbers for COVID-19 from the Ohio Department of Health, and there is good news here today. Almost every single metric is down. The one that is not down has stayed the same. The total number of new cases reported in the last 24 hours is 4,278. That is a lower number, way down from the number that we saw yesterday that was in the 7,000s. The total number of deaths reported in the last 24 hours is 81. That is down. Yesterday we saw 109 new deaths reported, although 81 deaths, still a lot of loss of life related to COVID-19 reported in the last 24 hours. There have been 204 new hospitalizations in the last day, and the total number of people in the hospital right now is 3,270. Of those people, 819 are being treated in the intensive care unit, and we've seen 20 new ICU admissions in the last 24 hours. We've got about 26% of our hospital beds available for people who need treatment right now as well, whether that be for COVID-19 or anything else. Now let's take a look at the national and the global COVID-19 numbers. These come from Johns Hopkins University. Across the U.S., the total number of reported COVID cases is now 24,694,145, and the total number of deaths is now 411,781. When we take a look at how we compare around the world, those percentages are steady today. We have 4% of the global population, but 25.2% of the COVID cases and 19.6% of the COVID-19 deaths. Globally, the total number of cases is now at 97,855,365. Give you a little bit of context about that. That's almost 750,000 new COVID cases reported globally in the last day. Just over 704,000. The total number of deaths globally is now at 2,099,047. Now, we've been talking a lot about the COVID-19 vaccine rollout and what we could do to try and move that along more quickly, but one member of Congress is now suggesting that $1,400 stimulus checks go to people who receive the COVID-19 vaccine, and he's here in Ohio. It's Representative Steve Stivers, a Republican. He told Yahoo Finance yesterday that he believes that a $1,400 check should go to people who take the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, $1,400 stimulus checks are already part of President Joe Biden's next stimulus plan. He does say that there will be more stimulus plans. This one, though, includes $1,400 checks for most Americans. And Representative Stivers says what he hopes is that the administration will look at that option because, quote, we actually buy something with our $1,400, and that's herd immunity. Back in December, a former presidential candidate also brought up this idea. Representative John Delaney pitched $1,500 checks for people who get the COVID-19 vaccine shots. But one key issue here, they're not available yet to everyone. We've had a major issue with the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccine. So not really sure that that's a workable option at this point. Not to say that it's not something Congress could visit potentially in the future. But at this point, when people don't even have the option to get the COVID-19 vaccine, it doesn't really seem like that's a feasible alternative to $1,400 checks for most Americans based strictly on your tax returns from the previous year. But Congress isn't the only place talking about incentives for people getting the COVID-19 vaccine. Aldi now is saying it plans to pay its employees to get the COVID-19 vaccine, and that it will pay them 2 hours of pay for each dose, so up to 4 hours of pay, because as we know, the COVID vaccine is a 2-shot situation. It says that Aldi says it will have on-site vaccination clinics at its warehouse and office locations to make sure that employees have easy access to the vaccine, and will also cover the cost associated with getting the vaccine. So not only will they pay their employees to get it, but the employees aren't going to have to pay to get the vaccine, and that scheduling flexibility will be available for salaried staff. Now, a vaccine advisory panel at the U.S. Centers for Disease Control voted last month on recommendations for rolling out the COVID vaccine, and they said that that grocery workers, which would include Instacart and Dollar General employees, should be in the second group to receive shots. That's after healthcare workers and nursing home residents. Now, Aldi is not the only company that wants to incentivize its employees to get the COVID vaccine. Other companies include Dollar General and Instacart, and also Trader Joe's, which are offering those incentives for those employees to get vaccinated. Speaking of paychecks for things, there was no winner in the Mega Millions drawing on Tuesday, and that means the jackpot is now at a whopping $970 million. And that drawing is tonight. We have asked you online, what would be the first thing that you would buy if you won the Mega Millions? You gotta play to win, right? Oh my goodness. And we had an Ohio winner, not a full-on winner for the Powerball, but we had a $1 million $1 million Powerball winner last week that was purchased here in Ohio, in Springfield, Ohio, right? So maybe lightning can strike twice. For me, I think the first thing I would buy would be a house. I feel like that is just the golden ticket. Once your housing is taken care of, you don't have to pay rent, you don't have to pay a mortgage. I feel like you're pretty well set up. So the housing thing, that's where I would start. I want to know what you would do if you won the Mega Millions. What's the very first thing you would buy? Let us know. We have a Facebook post up on our WKYC Facebook page, so you can let us know there in the comments. That's what I'll be talking about in your Trending Stories segment in Clicking in Cleveland today on What's New at 5 o'clock. And if you don't know already, you can stream that for free live in the WKYC app. So make sure you check that out. That's it from me today for your 3 News Now update for Friday, January 22nd. I will see you next on What's New. New episode of the 3 Things to Know podcast drops tomorrow morning, my friends. We are talking about moving on and moving forward with a Cleveland Clinic psychologist, Dr. Scott B. It's a great conversation, so make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you can catch that one. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe and be well, and I'll see you back here on Monday. I'm Stephanie Haney.